Thomas and 16. As the workload on the Northwestern Railway was increasing, Thomas's branch line was getting busier too. So busy that Toby had to bring Henrietta, and Mavis had to bring some loads of stone to Knapford docks too. When Thomas arrived at Elsbridge Station, there stood Richard. "Hello, Thomas," said Richard. "How's your branch line going?" "Pretty hectic," puffed Thomas. "There's more than enough work for 5 engines. "Then you're in luck," said Richard, "because another engine is coming to help you on your line." "What's his name?" pondered Thomas. "He doesn't have a name, but his number is 16, answered Richard. "And since, well, we heard a story Wilbur told you about." Thomas felt relieved as he remembered. "That was a long time ago," said Thomas. "But that should lower our load." That evening, Thomas told the other engines all about the help they would be getting. "Richard told me the engine's number is 16, he explained, "and he's sure to lighten our load." "If the engine is larger than me and Julie, then we should get more than enough rest," said Percy. "Let's rest now," said Lady. "More work for all of us tomorrow," put in Julie. "Good night," yawned Daisy. The next morning, Thomas woke up early. "What a lovely morning. The sun is out. 16 is coming to help us." Suddenly, Thomas heard an unfamiliar whistle. "He's here," called Thomas, and there, puffing into the yard, was 16. "Hello," said Thomas. "You're the engine who has no name, but has a number. I'm Thomas. We heard the story Wilbert, the forest engine, told us about you years ago." "Hello, I suppose, Thomas," said 16. "Morning, 16, said Lady. "I'm Lady, and these green engines are Percy, Julie, and Daisy. Percy and Julie are steam engines, and Daisy is a diesel one, which is called a rail car. She looks like a coach, but she runs on oil instead of letting any engine pull her." "I've come to help you on your branch line," said 16. "Now who's going to help me?" "I'll show him what to do," sighed Thomas. Thomas brought 16 to the yard. "Now, 16, he said, "there are more than just cars. We also have coaches to pull." 16 eyed Daisy and the coaches. "Those cages on wheels?" he grunted. Daisy, Annie, Clarabel, Destiny, Melody, and Symphony were most offended. "Cages on wheels, indeed!" Daisy fumed. "How dare he!" added the coaches. 16, you hurt their feelings!" exclaimed Thomas. "See if I care!" huffed 16, and he buffered down on Annie and Clarabel. "Just one more thing, 16, added Thomas. "I know all about coaches," said 16. "They're like cars." They're nothing like cars, said Daisy. "Coaches are diesel rail cars carrying passengers." But 16 wasn't listening. He was coupled up to Annie and Clarabel, and off he puffed. "But Annie and Clarabel are my coaches," sighed Thomas. Thomas was right to be worried. 16 puffed through every station with Annie and Clarabel. "Whoa! You were supposed to stop at the station!" exclaimed Annie. "You were supposed to collect those people," added Clarabel. Thomas, knowing 16 wasn't listening to him, decided to use different coaches. But first, he had to try Daisy. "Daisy, I know you're a diesel railcar, but maybe I can pull you as my temporary coach today, he said. Humph, snorted Daisy. Certainly not. I may look like a coach, but I don't need any engine to pull me. I'm the latest diesel railcar, and I can carry passengers on my own, thank you. And she purred grumpily away. Then Thomas eyed the other coaches. Lady, you wouldn't mind if I used Destiny, Melody, and Symphony today, would you? Asked Thomas. I'm sorry, Thomas, said Lady. I'm afraid I'll be needing them to take the Stone family to visit their great-grandfather Burnett on the mainland, too. I guess so, sighed Thomas. Thomas went to the coach siding to find other coaches since Annie, Clarabel, Destiny, Melody, and Symphony were gone. There, standing in the siding, was a pair of coaches Thomas hadn't used and seen in a long time. The perfect coaches, said Thomas. Not too different from Annie and Clarabel. Thomas buffered up to the coaches, and he was well on his way. Meanwhile, 16 was causing more trouble. He arrived at Farquhar Quarry. Made it, and before time too. But Toby and Mavis were surprised to see 16. Hello, said Mavis. And you are, Toby began to say. I have no name, but my number is 16. Hello, 16. And why have you brought Annie and Clarabel to this quarry? Asked Toby. These cages on wheels? Huffed 16. I brought them to collect rocks. But you don't carry rocks in coaches, laughed Mavis. You carry passengers. Then 16 realized his mistake, and he went around and brought Annie and Clarabel back. But as soon as he arrived at Maithwaite Station, there was Thomas eyeing him crossly. I told you that you don't take coaches without people, and you didn't listen, said Thomas. Now you've made my passengers late. I had to fetch these coaches instead, and bring my passengers to the rightful places. 16 looked towards the coaches Thomas was pulling. Hold on, I thought I was pulling. No, these coaches were spares. You were pulling my coaches, Annie and Clarabel, explained Thomas. When 16 returned to the shed, there was Sir Topham Hatt very cross. 16, you've caused a lot of confusion and delay, he boomed. Not only had you left Thomas's passengers stranded, you were also rude to Daisy, Annie, Clarabel, Destiny, Melody, and Symphony. Cages on wheels indeed. 16 looked down at his buffers. It looks like you will need a lesson about pulling coaches and carrying passengers. Sighed Sir Topham Hatt, and Thomas will help you tomorrow. Yes, sir, said 16. Next morning, 16 came to see Thomas, Daisy, Annie, Clarabel, Destiny, Melody, and Symphony. I'm sorry for leaving your passengers behind, Thomas, sighed 16. And I'm sorry I called you cages on wheels, Daisy and coaches. Apology accepted, Daisy approved. That's all right, said Thomas. And now I'll show you how you pull coaches and what you do. So for the rest of the day, Thomas brought Annie and Clarabel, and 16 used other coaches. Thomas made sure 16 stopped at every station to allow passengers on or off the train. Well done, 16, said Thomas. You've really learned how to pull passenger trains. 16 beamed.